So my thought is difference day one, and I speak more to the ability to immediately have a working relationship with the commission, the city department heads, the city administrator, and get to work right away with the things that are most prevalent as to what needs work. Uh, Difference day one to me means going right in and taking a look at right sizing what our government looks like. I've often felt, and this has been for a number of years, that we might not necessarily be the right size government, and that could be in particular departments, that could be overall. I think so. When you get down to the department level, and each of the department heads need to talk about their staffing, what they do, how their particular office serves the public. What you probably find that technological advances, things like that, have made it to where positions that were created 15 years ago to do job A, because of technology, they're not needed anymore. But what happens in government a lot of times is that we don't make a move to change those or move those out, because those particular department heads want to make sure they're protected and delivering services for their bosses. What we need is a more understanding governing body that says that, hey, we need more flexibility. So you look at all departments: recreation, engineering, utilities. All of them need a look at how they actually operate, what the particular positions are, and then make those changes to fit. And in some instances, it may be a reduction. Um, while the demand for government services seems to be going up, it doesn't mean that we can increase efficiency by slimming down in some places. And so that's something I just always have thought was needed. And I've told several department heads about that. They know that I have that thought process. The delivery of services is what we do, and we're just not necessarily doing as well as we could.
I think Augusta just needs a new, fresh perspective on leadership. I've said that my background and not having any government experience, I think is beneficial at a time like this. One of the things we need to address is who stands on the side of the taxpayer. There continues to be a conversation regarding accountability, transparency, and credibility. On the very first days in office, I pledged to, one, not take a county vehicle. We're going to turn that back into the motor pool. Two, we're going to turn in the county mayor's issued credit card. Three, we're going to not take any travel allowances, and that we're going to pay for that ourselves. And hopefully we'll start driving a new culture about fiscal responsibility. We're also going to ask for a efficiency and operational review of every single department throughout the county. We need to find ways to create tax savings for the taxpayers. And I think that just simply having a conversation like that moves us in a different direction, especially at a time like now, where we have record high inflation, where we have record high gas prices, where there are so many people that are trying to find ways to pay for medicine and find food and pay for fuel. In that, as a mayor, I want to show that I am in this with every citizen, and we need to find ways to also contribute to giving back. I think you're right. The Augusta's image often runs through the mayor's office. I think today we have some challenges when you look at our government. When you look at our city from a growth perspective, Augusta is now Georgia's third largest city behind Columbus. And I use this phrase all the time. Savannah is nipping at our heels. I don't even want to say nipping at our heels. They're probably beside us, looking at us and just assuming that they're going to overtake us at any day. So in order to get Augusta growing and going again, you have to have the right face, the right leader with the right vision and the right credentials to get us moving in that direction. If you look at my track record and my background, that's who I am. I've always been a quiet person from a personal perspective, in that I've intentionally remained under the radar as a business owner, but engaged behind the scenes, whether it be serving on boards for nonprofits, whether it be contributing to being chairman of the Augusta Metro Chamber of Commerce and serving on that board, whether it be serving on the appointment of Governor Kemp on the Georgia Department of Economic Development. But at a time like this, we need a leader that's not only in the room, but we need a leader that's at the table to get Augusta growing. And I argue that I'm not leader in that. I'm already at that table. I'm already having discussions about how we can make this community better. I've done it from a private citizen perspective, and I've done it successfully. And I hope the voters of Richmond County will see that experience and not talk. And they will realize that I've done it and I can do it for this city.
So I think we have several images depending on the space in which you look from. I run into people all the time who aren't from Augusta, who aren't from this area, who have a very positive view of this city. I sat with someone last Saturday, who moved here, military retiree, and talked about just how much he loved this city, why he decided to retire here, all the things that were positive about it. But I certainly recognize there are those amongst us who feel as though we have some image issues with our government, transparency. I think that oftentimes there are outsiders who look at it, who are in the general area, who are more critical of things we do within our government and within our city. And that's going to happen. Augusta is an urban center with an urban core to a suburban area that has different needs, has different issues than we do. And so we have an older infrastructure. So more of our dollars are going to go to fixing wooden pipes that still lie under the ground for a city. Augusta sits in a bowl, and so it's going to have water that flows down into the lowest parts, unlike some of the other places that are around. But that means a larger share of the dollars that we bring in have to go towards those needs that other communities may not have to. Often these very same communities benefit from what Augusta does. They drive in on our roads to get to the spaces where they want to work, and then they get to go back home to their own places in which they don't have the same tug on the infrastructure each and every day. And so with those types of things, I think we need to look to improve our image by doing good work. I would say to anyone, when I took over the tax commissioner's office, it had the same reputation I say is probably the city of Augusta for a lot of people. Facilities weren't that great. The employees were thought to be a little lackluster, didn't necessarily deliver the best to customer service. People stood outside, had issues, and yet we were able to go in and model something that's important and significant and change the way people looked at that. I think that same thing's possible for the city of Augusta, and my intent is to apply that very same blueprint to the city of Augusta. I'm tired of folks saying, well, we need to be more like Greenville, or we need to be more like Spartanburg, or we need to be more like Atlanta. It's time for people to say they want to be like Augusta, and I was able to change that in my office, and I believe we can change that for the city too.
As a business owner, I'm tasked every day with, one, going out selling, creating opportunities not for my employees, but creating value propositions for my customers. As a salesperson, that is my goal. So I've often brokered very tough negotiation decisions, whether it regards rather state or federal contracts, very skilled at pricing negotiations and term negotiations. So I have a plethora of experience in the business community. Also serve on numerous boards and authorities where we've negotiated and brokered some very difficult and unique terms as it relates to property leases, as it relates to land deals. So I have plenty of experience in that. And I serve on the Georgia Department of Economic Development, where, you know, for 8 years Georgia has been named the #1 state for business. And I proudly proclaim that we will be announcing soon that we will be hold that designation for 9 years. But I have experience in getting very complicated deals together. I have a skill set in negotiating very difficult and sometimes tense contract negotiations. It's something that I've done from a personal level. I've grown a business from nothing, essentially, from no employees and no sales to a multi-million-dollar company in which it is today. And I'd like to bring those skill sets over to the city. You know, I have a headquarters at the corner of 11th and Telfair Street. It's a property that was deemed blighted It was a property that was deemed a den of homelessness. We negotiated with two property owners to combine those properties to build the building where it is today. And that's significant in that you had one property that was depressed and you had another property that was actually running a very viable business. And I would love to say the name of that business, but I'm not. I went in with both property owners, shared my vision on where I wanted to take the city, negotiated both, got both properties under contract, and then negotiated with numerous contractors to establish a contract to construct a building headquarters. And it's a multi-million-dollar building. It was a multi-million-dollar project. And if you've seen, since we've built that building, there's been an ample amount of increased presence in that corridor. There is a project, what I call market rate apartment complex, has since been built behind us. There's a second that's actually now it's been announced and it's actually under construction now. So I pride myself with being one of the incentives that gave other people hope that we could start turning that corner in that portion of Telford Street around.
So I serve in the chair of the Economic Development Authority, the Downtown Development Authority, Leadership Augusta, Boys and Girls Club. All of those boards that I've chaired, people have selected me because of my ability to work with others. You don't join boards and get selected by your peers unless they see something that allows you to move what you're doing in a vision forward. Everything I do as it relates to working in those organizations requires that. I'll go back, Leadership Augusta 15 or 20 years ago didn't have a youth leadership program. Columbia County had one, Aiken County had one, and I approached our board. I wasn't chair then, and I approached our board and said, why don't we have this program for our students? And they said, well, we used to have one, but we can't afford it. And I said, well, if you allow me to raise the money and run that program, we can put together a dynamite program for this organization. The board was skeptical. It had been a cost to the board, and financially they could not afford it. But I was able to convince that board that that was something we should do. They concurred, and now 18 years later, we still have a Youth Leadership Augusta program that I continue to run for this community based on me first convincing them that it was the right thing to do, and then after that, moving forward and providing excellence. I'll go further with government. Maybe 7 or 8 years ago, the Utilities Department was about to move into new offices on Peach Orchard Road. My office was on Lumpkin Road. I knew our facilities were poor. Our facilities downtown were poor. I approached the commission and the administrator and said, hey, we need to move into something that's more representative of what citizens want. And oh, by the way, utilities is about to do something on Peach Orchard Road. Let me find something we can do together. They said, go to it. And so I found the space we're at on the corner of Rozier and Peach Orchard Road, put together the plan that allows the utilities department to be on one side and the tag office to be on the other side, brought that forward and got a unanimous approval to that. Well, that didn't just happen. It happened because I had a vision that we could do better for citizens. I went to the very people we had to work with to get approval who had controlled the purse strings and have been able to deliver with that each and every time. Same thing happened for our tag office on Washington Road. There's much skepticism about moving the tag office from Laney Walker to Washington Road. But the tag office on Laney Walker is less than a mile from the one in the municipal building. So it was a duplication of services for people that were right there. We were able to lobby, again, the commission, convince them that this was better to place it on Washington Road, and we've moved forward since. I work on projects and ideas and things like that all the time. The key is working with people behind the scenes to make sure they understand exactly what you're trying to do. And so you can meet the objections and make the changes that they want so as that everybody can get something from it. As the chairman of the Augusta Economic Development Authority, I've been responsible for the location of the last two major projects that come to our community. I went to Germany with the State Department of Economic Development and we together signed to bring Arubis to this community. It's going to create over 125 jobs and $450 million investment. The Pure Cycle location, which was, we went to Ohio to recruit them. Again, over 100 plus jobs and $300 million investment. That job creation is real on a larger corporate front. But we were also involved in Topgolf, in making sure the final parts of that project came together. Been involved in a family business that creates jobs and has a few workers there. I'm the guy who has the youth leadership program that puts the kids to work, that starts, and has been doing that for years. But I think job creation on a larger scale can happen when everybody gets on the same page and understands what we need to do in order to provide the types of job training for people who need them, and the right types of companies who want those folks. All of that's not perfectly aligned right now, and it could be done better, and we're working on that. But my direct involvement has mostly to do with my last 6 years on the Development Authority and actually being on the ground when those jobs are coming. We had one. If COVID had not happened, we probably would have located one that was bigger than the Pure Cycle and Arubis combined. We just couldn't travel. But Augusta has a lot of other opportunities that are coming, but it takes the organizations like to talk to the officials on the ground, understand about this community, and I'm going to continue to do that. I don't care the outcome of this. While I believe I'll be successful, it won't stop me from trying to help create better opportunities for jobs in this community.
Yeah, so serving on that board, it gives me great privilege and honor. And as I mentioned, we're having a record year for job investments. And you mentioned I created those opportunities for my company. Unfortunately, with, I guess, my opponent serving on a local board, it creates challenges. It creates challenges in that I'm seen as competition. So there's not a lot of collaboration between my efforts at the state level and his efforts at the local level. However, I was very instrumental in engaging the process with Arubis that was announced. That was actually a state project that was brought to the city of Augusta. So I take credit with being involved in that. But there needs to be improvements. And after this election, we can start repairing and mending the fence of getting greater collaboration going with me at the state level and whoever's at the local level to get Augusta growing again. And it's unfortunate that politics is involved in that, you know, both of us are running for mayor. Him being the local person that, you know, he doesn't want to be one-upped, and I certainly don't want to be one-upped. But, you know, hopefully after June 21st, we won't have that problem anymore.